Welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us. It's the 24th of October 2016, which is in fact the birthday of one of our team here. So Felix Cumpleaños, Roberto, and we hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to be talking about two e-commerce concepts that we can manage with a Flowxo bot: marketing and customer order management. I thought this is a perfect topic for this time of year as we approach Christmas and people will be looking to extend their e-commerce reach. Just before we get started, as usual, we'll kick off with a look at some of the recent news in the world of bots. I mentioned this in our weekly webcast a couple of days ago, but I thought it was worth looking at again. With the election in the US now only 15 days away, I'm sure it's going to see some extended use. These campaigns have already made history, and I think this is history being made again. What this bot does, the Go Vote bot, and gives you information where you can vote in the US presidential election, and it even lets you register to vote. Even if you're in the UK, it's worth looking at it. It's a simple and powerful use case. I can see bots for public services becoming more and more common in the coming months. Perhaps you're looking for an idea for your own development. What public service could be better served with a bot? There's some food for thought there. One other story to report to you. There's a TV show over here in the UK called Humans. The premise is that synthetic human robots are available for purchase and use around the home. It's like a serialized British iRobot. So they've thrown together a marketing campaign, and you can see they have a page here where you can order one of these bots, and you can click live chat to go and talk to them. Now that launches directly into Messenger. And you can see here it talks you through the delivery, and inevitably the delivery goes wrong, the robot starts to malfunction, but it's actually really clever. It's been programmed really well, and you can see here from the example I've got on screen, it's taken my input and it's rapidly responded to everything that I've had to say. So it's great fun. Do give it a try. It's a great example of using a bot for marketing. Again, it's really well thought out, but it's simple. It draws people in and it gets the story across in an engaging manner. Okay, on to business. Using Messenger as a marketing platform is a new paradigm in customer engagement. It's the ideal way to keep in touch with customers and prospects. Where better than the place customers are already enjoying positive experience interacting with their friends and family. If you run an online business or provide an e-commerce solution, I'd go so far as to say that from 2016 onwards, a bot is essential in increasing your marketing reach, but more importantly, just for making more sales. It's going to be the tool that's going to surpass email as the place that your customers come and communicate with you. A quick aside on that note, what I want to talk about first is what bots are great at and what bots are not. Bots are great at taking simple text input from users in an engaging way. We've looked at some examples of that, perhaps for use in other apps, and disseminating that information either directly in response or at a given time. Depending on the platform, we're going to be using Messenger today, you can disseminate that content in a rich and attractive manner too. But what bots are not? They're not full-purpose apps. So we're going to have an e-commerce theme today. Bots don't provide a great interface for all the things that an app can do or a website. I think there's a lot of examples of functions definitely best kept within a full-purpose web store. For instance, product searches. It's nice to send product examples, but trying to give all product combinations and searching for exactly the correct item, comparing side by side and building a basket, it's all best kept in the web store. So two examples of great bot simplicity of function. If you think of instances where you might be using a form to collect data, that's an excellent opportunity to help you get more sign-ups by communicating with the user in a conversational manner. Another mainstay example is answering simple FAQs. On the output side, I know I'm bored of receiving countless marketing emails. I've just registered some domains, for instance, and I've been flooded with emails. I'm sick of them, I'm bored of them. If I was to receive a messenger notification and get a special call out on my handset, I'm likely to check it out, especially in these early days when they're a pleasant and novel feature. So in today's cast, we're going to be looking at drumming up business with marketing functions through a bot, sending bespoke messages through the messenger channel, managing subscribers and unsubscribes to a bot for those messages, then dealing with the most common e-commerce queries and questions, and how we go about getting that information into and out of FlowXO to answer those questions. We'll look at some of the more interesting services, webhooks and the code service, which interact with external platforms. We're going to tackle the marketing first before thinking about integrations for customer management and order processing. Let's take a quick look at our setup. We have our Facebook page, we have Messenger open, of course we have FlowXO, we have our Gmail account which we're going to use, and we have Google Sheets here. Just to take a look around Google Sheets, I've got 3 tabs here. I've got customers on the first sheet, always have the column headers and then at least 1 line of data before starting to work with it with FlowXO. I've got paid orders here, ready to receive some information, and I've got a sheet on stock, giving me an item code, stock level, and an ETA if one's available. Just a little bit of context on our page. We run a simple bot store where we sell a range of bot related goods, oils, parts, whole bots in fact, and previously we've been communicating with customers through this channel. We'd prefer to make that interaction more personal and be able to capture information and send messages to customers too. So, to be able to send information to our customers through the Messenger channel, we need to make use of FlowXO's push service. Just as it's named, this is simply going to send a new message to a user, but doesn't require input from the customer first. We're not responding to anything. We need 4 flows in total to get the most out of this feature, so let's talk through each in turn. In our first flow, we need an action to send new content to subscribers, so let's set that up now. For clarity, I'm going to call this first flow, flow 1, send content. I'm then going to use the push service and start it with the new push trigger. So this trigger is started with somebody sending some content to the trigger, or rather FlowXO sending some content to this trigger. Just a note, I'm going to go back here and I'm actually going to edit the name on this occasion because we need to be really careful about the naming so that I can use this name later. We'll call this push monthly offers. The simplest case next would be to send some content that's received here to the subscriber in a send a message action, but we're interested in sending some rich content, so we're going to send a card here. Now fortunately, I can populate these inputs with the pro forma outputs from the trigger. FlowXO puts these outputs in place already, so we're ready to receive our content. That's this flow done, a simple 2-stage flow with a trigger and an action. Receive some content from somewhere, we'll configure that in a minute, and then send a card with the rich content to a specific user. You must remember to turn this workflow on. Next, we need a flow that brings about the new push trigger we just set up in flow 1. So we need to deliver the content we'd like to send to the customer in that first flow, then actually send a push to the customer. Again, for clarity, I'll call this second flow, flow 2, capture content. It makes sense to deliver the content that I eventually want to disseminate via an email. So we'll set up a receive an email trigger first. I'm generated an address that's specific to this flow, and then over in Gmail, and bearing in mind that I'd like to send some rich content to the user rather than a simple message, I need to give a few things in the body of this email to deliver to the trigger. I'm going to send that. And then over in FlowXO, we just need to wait for the email to be received. We'll be told when that happens. And then I just need to parse out these values. So this email will always be the same every time I receive it in terms of structure, but not in terms of content. I can optionally then send another email just to confirm that the values have been parsed correctly. There's some logic happening here, so this can sometimes take a little while. For now, we'll be confident that we've received the correct outputs, and I'll click Next, and Next again.
They've got a lead limit of 3, and the system's registering that they've had 3 today. I'll show you just in case we need to change anything.
The good news is that it's really simple to set up that standard push of content. We'll be able to see that the body of that email comes through as outputs that I can use in my flow. So now I can move on to the next action in this flow, which is the push action again, but this time the action is send a push.
The black filter button and put 2 ticks on there. I've done add a filter. 1 second, I didn't do that actually. I did options, the black options button. I've ticked search subleads and I've ticked search using the referral date. My date at the top is today and 3 come up.
And these are the parsed outputs that we created in our parsing operation.
Yeah, that's alright. There's 2 places it's set and the second one is the one that's remaining. If you go to the partner and their referral setup.
And the push, this is why it's important that we named it in flow number 1, is monthly offers.
When you edit the lead tab that you see on screen.
So, just to recap what we've done here, we're now going to send a push that can be picked up by the new push trigger in our first flow, in flow number 1. Now we're going to turn this workflow on, and that's this workflow done. And now on to the third flow. Penultimately for this set of flows, we need to create a flow for subscribing customers to the updates that we'll send when we create a push in the previous flow. Keeping the theme and for the lucidity, we'll name this flow Flow 3, Subscribe Customer. This time we're looking for a new message. And we'll look out for the phrase subscribe me. Next, we need the push action again, and we're going to use the push subscribe option. We're subscribing the customer that says this key phrase based on that individual unique response path that's pre-populated for us. And I need to select the push here. Again, this is why it's important that we name it correctly. so that I can select it from the list. Finally, in this flow, I'm going to send a message to the customer to let them know they've been subscribed. And turn the workflow on. And then we need one more final workflow that we can trigger independently. We're going to use unsubscribe. Again, we'll add the trigger. I'm actually going to use the keyword remove so that it doesn't conflict with our subscribe keyword on the fuzzy matching. And we're simply going to say back to the user, back to the customer, that we're sorry to see them go, and they can always resubscribe. Finally, the push action, this time to unsubscribe. And the push, again, is monthly offers. Just a couple of things to note here. I could have several feeds and subscription options. That's fine. All I need to do is ask a question in the middle of the flow and ask the customer which flow it is they want to, which push of information, which subscription it is they're interested in. And in the middle of the flow, ask that question and use the output to feed into our unsubscribe action. So it will dynamically choose whatever the customer chose to unsubscribe from. Just ask us for any more detail that you need on that. Let's turn this workflow on and we'll take a look at it in Messenger. First of all, we need to subscribe. Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong bot here. Let's get rid of this one for now. And we need to subscribe to the Flow bot, the FlowXO bot, the bot store. There's the message that I've got back, so it looks like I'm subscribed. And then I can go over to Gmail . I can compose. I just need to put the content back in. We need to remind ourselves of what the specific email was. So obviously, once you've set this up the first time, you'll make a note of this email address separately, so you can always send the same content you can always send content to this same address. We can make use of FlowXO logs to see if that email has been received, and it has. And also we can see that the push has been sent. And there's the card sent through to us, which has been created from the email content. Obviously, I could take this further and I could now say the word unsubscribe in order to stop getting those updates that are pushed to me whenever I want to. So I'm just going to turn all of these workflows off for now, because we're going to move on to the second part of today's cast. So if you could do the same if you're following along, just need to go into the flows and turn each of them off. In this next section, we're going to look at getting data in and out of FlowXO to be able to answer common e-commerce questions. will make use of webhook triggers and webhook actions to send and receive data, and Google Sheets will be acting as a data store. You'll hear me repeat again later that this is just a proxy. Google Sheets is just going to act as a proxy for any app or any database in the background. It's just a place to store data, but it could be any database or any app that you're currently using in the office. Now, I've identified the most common e-commerce question as, where's my order? That probably won't come as any surprise. We've all waited for Amazon to deliver something and wanted an update, so let's keep that in mind. But first, what's a webhook? Well, we can think of it simply as a way of sending information from one system to another. So for instance, sending all the contact details of a customer from one platform, like a CRM, to another app, for instance a mailing app like MailChimp. We have to assume that the apps in question can send and accept these webhooks, but it means that it isn't necessary to have a deep integration if that's so, and we can just shuttle information and data between the two apps in practically real time. A webhook is triggered by an event, much like a FlowXO flow is triggered. Simply, we send some data when something happens. So in our fifth flow, we're going to look first at sending some data with the sender webhook action. Now we always send data to an API. Any app that can receive a webhook will have one, and it will have some documents that describe what the data you're sending should look like. We're about to use the Facebook API to send some message to Facebook, which then can be sent back to Messenger. Let's take a quick look at the Facebook API page. You can see here that it defines what the webhook we send should look like. I could even just copy and paste the code here. That easy. I would need to make some adjustments. For now, let's get on to our flow proper. So the context for this flow is that a lot of the time a bot is an ideal solution because it alleviates call volumes in a customer service capacity. However, from a sales perspective, sometimes the customer feels it's essential to get on the phone. Similarly, some support queries do need a human voice applied to them. It can be the difference between a deal being won and the customer abandoning a sale, or an issue resolution and a complaint. Customers sometimes just need to get on the phone, and we can make that easy for customers by use of FlowXO's webhooks. So, first of all, let's trigger our flow. We'll call this flow callers. And I'm going to trigger this flow with the same phrase. Then I'm going to ask a question to the customer. I need to be careful that I set the type as choice on this occasion. Before you call a human, is there something I can help with? And then a set of choices. The first is going to be subscribe. Second is going to be unsubscribe. And the last, the important one, is going to be no, put a human on.
You're confusing me there, so I just want one check. You've moved marks to the user one direct, haven't you?
So finally in this flow, I'm going to conditionally send a webhook to Facebook. Now this is going to look quite complex. You can of course follow what I'm doing here on screen. You will have to substitute in some of your own values. We can tell you where to get those. Just chat to us and we'll let you know. It did take a little bit of time to put together, but you can see that all I've done is follow the guide set up at Facebook developer pages, and that's all you need to do for any other instance of using a webhook as well. You'll always be given some guidance from the app you're interacting with. Follow the outline that the app that you're trying to send to has given you. So this is where I want to send my data. I want to send JSON. Again, that will be told to us by the API. I'm actually going to use raw body in this case, however, because I just want to put in some pre-prepared text. I also just need to set some headers so that it's received correctly by Facebook. Final thing to do is that I need to make this last action conditional. Just to go back in here to stress the point, I'm going to add a filter. I'm going to look at the customer's answer. I'm going to say if the answer contains the word human, because we know they're going to have selected speak to a human. Just thinking about building out this flow further, I might then consider adding actions that push customers into other flows based on them answering with subscribe or unsubscribe to trigger the flows that we already built. We've turned them off, however, so we'll stick to what we have here right now just to demonstrate this webhook. Let's turn this flow on and let's take a look at this in Messenger. You can see here when I say call us, I'll be asked the question. I'll select no to put a human on. And all being well, we got an error here unfortunately, so I'm just going to have to sort that out. Let's just get in here and see what the problem is. It's told us it's with this parameter. So let's try that again. So it looks like we've got a problem here with our access token, or what we're trying to send as the user. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go onto my other screen for a few minutes and try and resolve this at Facebook and see what the issue could be. It's likely that I've had a timed out token or something like that. So excuse me just a minute, I'm just struggling with Facebook at the moment. It looks like they're taking their time to respond. Let's make sure we've got all our details correct in FlowXO. Just give that one more try, and if it doesn't work this time, we'll come back to it at the end. There we go, this time it worked. So just a little problem there that I had to sort out with Facebook. It didn't like some of the details that I were giving it, so I refreshed my details at Facebook, and now you can see that I've been presented with the output of the Web Hook that I sent to Facebook. So in it, you'll have seen that I programmed in here a set of different things, some text for the title that comes through, some images that were hosted on the internet which have been displayed back to me, and I've also managed to program in some buttons to click. You'll see that if you do this on your handset, it'll launch straight away into the operating system's standard calling pattern, so you'll get the number printed into the console on your phone straight away, and you can hit it to call. Since I'm in the browser here, you can see that it's tried to call up Skype, so that it can start the call right away. So you can see the power of that on a handset. Do try it out. The customer can use the bot to call you directly from clicking a link. So that's the final flow. We look out for the new message callers. We ask a question just to make sure they do want to call us. Obviously, we want to keep the user working with the bot if we can. And then finally, we make that HTTP request. We send that webhook off to Facebook, and Facebook sends some information back using the customer's response path to be able to post a message directly into their chat channel with the bot. So we've considered webhooking out to Facebook in this case. What about webhooking in? Well, in this next set of flows, we'll look at the order management process, right from the customer signing up and up until the customer asking that all-important question, where's my order? First, let's get a customer signed up and their details logged. We'll call this flow sign up. And then we're going to ask, what's your email address to the customer? What's your email? And then finally, we'll add this new customer to our Google Sheet that we looked at earlier. We'll take another look at that in just a moment. We're going to add a row. The spreadsheet is customers' orders. The sheet is customers. The customer's email is their response that they gave to us from the question. And the response path, in this case, is given to us from FlowXO. And finally, we'll send a message back to the customer saying, thanks, I've logged you as a customer. We'll turn this workflow on and go over and run it in Messenger. I'll trigger on the keyword sign up, the key phrase sign up. I'll be asked what's your email. Now in this example, I know what's coming later in this flow, so I'm going to give this specific email on this occasion, and you can too, because you'll see why this becomes important. We'll give example@outlook.com. And I'll be giving the message, thanks, I've logged you as a new customer. Over in our Google Sheet, we can then see that our customer has been logged along with their response path. So that's our customer created. On to our next flow. In this flow, we'll look at the opposite side of the webhook transaction, receiving a webhook and doing something with it. Keeping on the e-commerce theme and further building out our example and remembering our key question, where's my order? We'll look at PayPal. We've already created a customer and now we're going to have them buy something from us and create an order. There's no native integration of FlowXO with PayPal, so that's exactly why we'll want to use a webhook and the situation when we'd use a webhook. Do note, however, that we have integrations with 90 plus services on the payment side, including Stripe. So we're going to use the PayPal webhook simulator. You'll need a PayPal account to use this. It replicates sending an actual webhook when something happens in our PayPal account. Note that that could be a webhook from anywhere, however. Just get in touch with us for any help you need with your webhook source. So first of all, back to our flow. We'll call our flow log orders. And we're going to use the webhook trigger. And receive a webhook. And you can see here I'm given the URL that I need to send my webhook to. Back over in PayPal, I'll give that address. And the event type that I want on this occasion is invoicing, invoice paid. So this is somebody that's paid for an order, made an order and paid for it. I'm going to send the test. And PayPal's failed on this occasion, as it sometimes does. We'll just log back in. And all should be fine. Obviously in a test environment, it's not as reliable as the real PayPal platform. Take our address again. And then we have a success. Go over to FlowXO. It looks like PayPal's just a little bit slow at the moment. It's not uncommon this time of day, and especially in the testing environment, for that to be the case. Webhook received now, however. And I can save. And now I'm going to use Google Sheets again, a different sheet this time, but to add an order. This time the sheet is paid orders. I want the order date, which is the create time we know from PayPal. I want the item name, so I can use this output here. I want the value. And finally, I want the customer's email that's placed this order. We do actually get a couple of emails here, so let's make sure we get the right one. It's this one here. I'm going to save and turn this workflow on. Again, over in PayPal, let's send another webhook. And back in FlowXO, we can check the logs and we'll see the webhooks received and we've completed successfully. That means that in our sheet, in paid orders, we've now received a row of data. So the date of the order, the sample item, its value, and that email address again, which of course, example.outlook.com matches the order that we signed, the customer that we signed up. So just let me embellish a little at this point. In this example, we've used Google Sheets again. Here's a quick look at FlowXO's integrated services. Just down the list, we will go down to M, and you'll find that MySQL is here. So it's likely if you run a larger operation that you'll be using a database to manage orders. That's fine. The operations are just the same. You can think of Google Sheets here as a proxy for any database or indeed any other app. We'll just use the same add, update, get, delete type actions, or if we want to get a little bit more technical, we could use FlowXO's code service, which sits up here, to completely script custom integration right inside of Flow. We'll do that in our next flow for a simple logical comparison, but the point I want to stress is that data can get into or out of FlowXO very easily. You're not limited in any way. Rather, you're only limited by the actual source or actual recipient of the data. Just get in touch with us to talk about your data sources or data sinks. So we're on to the main event, the question, where's my order? We'll call this flow, where's my order? And we're going to trigger on that message from the customer. Then we'll ask a question. And the question is, could you give me your email? Then we need to get some information from our sheet, the proxy database, with get a row. We'll be getting it from signups because we want to check that this person is a customer that's previously registered. And we're looking up, we're going to get the row in which the customers answer the email that they gave us in the row that that email exists. Next, we're going to use the code service to check that the customer's answer matches a previous sign-up. Now in this case, we know that's going to be the case because they've gone away and we've matched it to a Google Sheet. So we're also, in this example, going to do one further thing, which is just match it against our database in the background so that we know for absolute certain that this customer is a returning customer and could have legitimately placed an order. So we're going to check the code service and we're going to execute some code. and we're given some place to enter our JavaScript code. So again, here we're going to do a simple logical comparison, but this code could be as complex as you need it to be. We could construct a call to anywhere and return whatever data we like. It's a completely raw scripting environment that runs right inside a sandbox environment as a task inside the flow. I need to give some inputs to this code. The inputs are from the information that I've got from elsewhere, earlier in the flow. So my first email is going to be stored email, which is stored from the sheet. And the second one is going to be answer email, which is the answer that the customer gave us. The stored email is the customer email from the row that we got from the sheet, and the answer email is going to be the customer's answer from the question earlier in this flow. Assuming there's a match there and we're happy that this customer did in fact sign up previously, I'm then going to search the rows on the order sheet, not on the customer sheets, but on the order sheet to make sure, to check if there are any orders being placed by the customer with that email address. Again, putting the customer's answer into here. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of FlowXO's helper functions, the date service. And I'm going to format a date or time. And the date or time that I'm going to format is the order date that we get back from the sheet. I'm then going to offset it by 7 days because I know that all deliveries are made 7 days after the order was placed. The format, just a nice finishing touch. And finally, I can send a message back to the user. Some final things I need to do here. I've left this till last just to stress the point. When we run this code, if there is a match between what the customer told us and what we had stored in our sheet, we're going to return the number 1. So I can use that as a filter for these downstream actions. I only want to search the rows if the result of the code execution is 1. So I'm going to add that filter to all of these final tasks in the flow. Just check that I got that right. And then over in Messenger again, we'll ask, where's my order? I may have forgotten the most important point, which is turning this workflow on. So then, having turned it on back in Messenger, where's my order? Could you give me your email? Again, we're using this example email because that's what PayPal have pre-populated for us. And there we are, all the actions have been performed. Your order will be with you on the 2nd of October 15, which just so happens is 7 days after the generic date that was given to us by this PayPal webhook that was sent. So everything's worked out perfectly there. So that's a really simple solution. We're using, again, using a database rather than a Google Sheets proxy. There's no limit to the kinds of information you could calculate and retrieve. For our final flow, just as a bonus to finish us off, we're going to use a flow that's present or being built out on our excellent blog over at FlowXO. So Kelsey Shaw built out for us this flow, which can be shared. You can install this. You're going to see me install it now just at the click of a button. You can see here, all I need is the link. I'm presented with the flow that's already been built. I then just need to click a few options to make sure that it's connected to the correct apps that are present in my own account. You can see it pre-populates these already. Usually I'd have to fill these in, but it already knows that these are the things I want to do and these are the fields I want to populate. It's already connected to my bot. Just turn the workflow on. I'll edit. I'm looking for the word or phrase in stock. I'll say in stock to the bot. It'll ask me which code number would you like to check. Obviously the customer would check our catalog. That references against our stock sheet in Google Sheets, where I've got a list of item codes, the stock levels, and the estimated time of arrival. So that I get a sensible answer, I'll pick 1, 2, 3, 4. I can see that everything's been filtered correctly, and assuming that I've given a correct code in this sheet, I'll just alter these flows. Obviously in a test environment, again, things can sometimes not work quite as we anticipate. Let's just install this flow again. We know we've got some stock in our case because we've just checked our spreadsheet. so we don't need to counter for the case where we ever run out of stock. We can alter the workflow slightly in that regard. We'll turn the workflow on. And we'll ask in stock. We want to check 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're told that we have 50 in stock for item 1, 2, 3, 4. So again, checking my sheet, I know that 1, 2, 3, 4, there's the stock level, and we do have an ETA as well stored here. So really easy there to copy flows that have already been built by somebody else, alter them to suit our needs, make sure that they're just right, which I'm sure you'll want to do. And that brings us nicely on to a thank you that I'd like to give you for watching today. Because you've been kind enough to watch, I'm going to share all of the flows that you've seen today so that you can install them into your own account and get going right away. Now, before you do that, you'll probably want to just have a look at FlowXO's pricing. You'll see that for only $19 a month, you can build 15 bots or flows and accommodate 5,000 interactions. There's no contract or tie-in period, and you can downgrade to a free plan at any time. Just as an extra incentive to really get you going, you can get 1 month free on the FlowXO Standard Edition, but only for the next 24 hours. All you need to do is use the coupon code FREEOCT16, which you can see there on screen. All of these slides and the rest of the video is going to be online again after this presentation. You'll see them appear on our YouTube channel probably in about an hour when YouTube's done its thing. Finally, just a few resources to be aware of. We've already looked at our blog, which is there at FlowXO, medium.com/FlowXO. We have extensive help docs in our knowledge base for each of the features we've looked at today, and you can get support from our community where we have some lively and active discussion. A final shout out, watch out for #WhatTheBot on social media to get all the latest bot news. So thanks for watching. I've really enjoyed building out that bot with you today. Please get signed up and tell me more about your use case. I'll be on live chat now. I'd be delighted to help you in building it out. Talk to us about any of the features you've seen today. I'll be running a session weekly too, so feel free to come and watch again. The core content won't change in those weekly sessions, but if you have a specific use case, we can build that into the session. A final reminder, if you get onto Twitter and #WhatTheBot, we'll be sure to give you some retweets there too. Get in touch, I'd love to hear from you. See you all soon, thanks very much.